Alrighty. So today we are looking at Of Mice and Men, Chapter 4, and the workbook pages that go along with that. So, uh, some of the questions. Description of Crook's living arrangement. Now that is given on page, um, at the very start of Chapter 4. So you're going to describe it, right? Like, for instance, you'll definitely put it's a bunk connected to the barn. All right. And then you'll just keep on describing it. List his possessions, right? And then notice, what do these things reveal about Crooks's character? So, all of his possessions, what do they tell us about him? Three reasons why he desires company. So, we'll go through that one. So, uh, he wants to have someone to play cards with, he mentions. You'll see that he is a very lonely character. He also wants to have someone to talk to, right? Just general company. Then finally, he brings up that at nighttime he gets scared. So to have comfort at night. Those are three ways that he's lonely and how he really does desire company. Even though you'll notice that when Lenny and them walk in, he sort of acts like he doesn't want them there, but he lets them stay. So that tells us that he really does want them. A quote to show that he's lonely. So you'll find a direct quote. Um, Notice says, imagine that Crooks had Twitter, write a status of the other men after the other men have left. So you'll do that after you finish the chapter. Now, this we talked about yesterday. So the person with the highest social ranking is definitely Curly's wife. The person with the lowest is definitely Crooks. And then Candy and Lenny are in between. So Curly's wife's opinion of her husband, record what she said about him. Draw a symbol to represent this chapter. That's up to you. Here it's going to give you a quote. So Candy came in, but he was still embarrassed. You got a nice, cozy little place in here, he said to Crooks. Must be nice to have a room all to yourself this way. And then Crooks, sure, said Crooks, and a manure pile under the window. Sure, it's swell. So you're going to tell us what you think the tone of this is. Check all that apply. Crooks's response to the dream. So it's very interesting because at first, he makes fun of their dream, right? He makes fun of it because he's seen many men with a dream like this. So first he makes fun of it, but then we'll see he gets excited about it, right? He even wants in on it. Why is that? Because he is lonely. And he also wants to be beholden to nobody, right? Like he likes this idea of live off the fat of the land. But then finally, right, they're all talking, they're having a good time. But then Curly's wife comes in and they all feel empowered, right? They only feel empowered right now because all the other guys are out of the off of the ranch. So they feel empowered. So they actually stand up to Curly's wife. Even Crooks, who is a black man in this time period, stands up to Curly's wife. And then Curly's wife calls him the N word, right, to remind him of his place. And so at the very end, he says he wasn't being serious. Why is that? Because Curly's wife reminds him of his place in society. He knows that it really can't happen because of the color of his skin. If Crooks were an animal, he'd be blank because blank. That's up to you. Just think of animals. So it's interesting. It says, how are these men outcasts of the ranch? So we talked, you'll fill that in based on our video yesterday. Curly's wife insulting nicknames for them. So she does call Crooks the N word. She calls Lenny a dumb. And she calls Candy a lousy old sheep. So it says keywords to describe them. This is your opinion. How would you describe these three characters? And then our review questions. In what way is Crooks even more lonely than the other man on the ranch? So you'll find evidence of that. How does Crooks torture Lenny, and why does he take pleasure in it? Right? There was one point where he starts to bring up, oh, I bet George, he isn't coming back. He's just gone off and left you. And Lenny gets pretty upset about it. So think about, was he trying to be malicious there? Right? Not really. Think about, why was Crooks doing that? Does Crooks appreciate having Lenny and Candy invade his private living space? It's interesting because he certainly says he does not want them in there, but he doesn't make them leave. So think about that. Do you feel any sympathy for Curly's wife? Give reasons for your answer. That's on you. That's your opinion. And how is the topic of loneliness further explored in this chapter? So just summarize that. How are they lonely? So chapter 4 is really interesting. It just gives us insight into these four characters who are, of course, represent the four isms, but they do all have dreams themselves. Is there anything you all would like to add about chapter 4? All righty. So that is, Miss Van Arstel.
I'm good. I'm good. Sorry. I was taking my own notes.
Gotcha. All righty. So that's chapter 4. So next week you'll notice on Monday we're going to read chapter 5. On Monday and Tuesday. On Wednesday finish chapter 6. Thursday have the day to work on your workbook, and then we will take the test on Friday, and we'll talk about how we're going to do that.
And don't forget the vocab.
Yes. That's due next Friday as well. All righty. We hope you all have a good weekend.
Have a good weekend, guys. Enjoy. See you on Monday. See ya. Bye.